Jan, thanks for the introduction. There's a cow on the screen. It's a cow.
Okay, it's all right. Now it's back.
Thanks for the introduction, Jan. Indeed, I will talk about some research into the effectiveness of task lighting for providing the non-image forming effects of light, but also its acceptance in the first place, which we can't take for granted. So the talk will be, I will, as a kind of warm-up act, go through the context in terms of the starting point, which was the recommendations from Brown et al., which we tested. Secondly, look at current workplace lighting practice and how it can be potentially improved with task lighting. A little discussion on that. And then I'll hand over to Peter Raynham from UCL, who will talk about the experiment that he designed and the analysis that he did. So this is the starting point, the recommendations that were published by Brown et al. In 2022. If I won't belabor the point, because I think most people on this call are fully aware of the background here, but it was a meta-analysis of decades worth of laboratory research into this issue. And these four graphs are within it. So A shows the relationship between melatonin suppression and Medilux. And this is a direct effect. I think just talking about circadian rhythms is, let's say, too simple and a narrative, from what I understand anyway. B is an indirect effect, the circadian phase shift with related to Medilux. C is the alertness related to Medilux. Note the Karolinska sleepiness scale used. Peter will come back to that. And indeed, if you look at the extremes where it plateaus, or the sleepy side and the alert side, they were used in the as the independent variables in the research that Peter designed. And then D is a kind of composite graph with all the foregoing put together. And overlaid is the recommendations from Brown et al., meaning 250 Medilux vertical in the daytime, minimum. In the evening, maximum 10 Medilux vertical, and the sleep environment should be as dark as possible, like moonlight, 1 Medilux maximum. So the focus of the research is looking at the 250 Medilux vertical during the day. And these recommendations we're starting to see integrated with visual lighting recommendations in codes, such as the world standard, which is illustrated here, that you see under L03, that you get up to 3 points if you have the 250 Medilux, which we've just mentioned, regrettably in brackets after EML, 2 different metrics. It's also, I gather, in an appendix to a draft version of ISO 8995, and certainly they're covered in a joint paper from Lighting Europe and IALD, which is being updated now. I know Kevan is on the call involved with that. So if we have this 250 Medilux recommendation, how to apply it? If you increase the general lighting to achieve this, it has certain ramifications. So here is a spreadsheet in which I've done a calculation to achieve 500 lux horizontal. What does that mean in terms of Medilux vertical and the light power density? So I've taken some reasonable figures, in fact, pretty good figures, actually. Efficacy of luminaire, recessed general lighting, 115 lumens per watt, daylight efficiency ratio of 0.7. All this is quite good. And if I take some site figures, utilization factor of 1, maintenance factor of 0.8, what comes out is 140 medilux vertical and a power density of 5.43 watts per meter squared. That is to say, if you want to increase this to 250 medilux, you have to increase it by 80%. So then you end up with a horizontal illuminance of 900 lux, light power density of 9.77 watts per meter squared. And this could push you over certain thresholds. I'm no expert here, but I came across this guide from the UK Government Property Agency, which recommends 4.5 watts per meter squared for the net internal area. These to be applied for net zero guidance for government estate buildings. So this could be an issue. So if we look at task lighting, so far so academic, but if we assume one task light per person and a person has 6 meters squared in a workspace, then stay with me. If you have the existing 5.43 watts per meter squared general, and then add 13 watts divided by 6 for the task lighting. The 13 watts is the wattage, the power of the task light you're about to see. You end up at 7.6 watts per meter squared, i.e. 25% less. So this seems to make sense, but does it work? So now can localized lighting work? Let's dig a little bit deeper. I think if you're doing lighting design, you think of things like CCT, CRI, uniformity, is there flicker, etc. But on top of that, if you're looking at task lighting, there are other considerations. I'm not saying task lighting per se is new, but I think task lighting giving 250 medilux vertical, well, it's not the norm anyway. So is it comfortable for workers and co-workers? Even if you can change the spatial distribution, you might have it a nice glare-free solution for the actual user, but is it affecting his co-workers? Secondly, are there any adaptation issues? This is connected to the ratio of the task and the surround illumination. If there's too great a difference, it can cause headaches and eye strain. I think it's fine here with this scheme from BDP, where you have 500 lux horizontal on the desk, and in the surround areas 300 lux. If the ratio is more than that, it can lead to adaptation issues. Thirdly, and this is more to do with control than the actual hardware, the task light itself, you can have the 250 medilux vertical, but should it be static, or what about varying it according to incoming daylight, the task in hand, or the user's mood, or have they got a headache that day? Fourthly, is it an intrusion on the desk, or it might not be an intrusion, but is it a visual intrusion? And most of all, will it actually have an impact? So the point here is that there's been a lot of research in laboratory conditions where variables are isolated. And I think this kind of pathfinding research is absolutely critical. But it should be followed up with real in the market research. And the point is, in the market research, you don't isolate variables. So you take all these variables, as per my attempt at humor in the corner here, like putting all different ingredients into a stew pot and heat it up, and what comes out of it. The variables can be, for example, normal artificial lighting levels. I've seen in some papers that the dim light level is as low as 6 medilux and the bright light level 1,000 medilux. In normal workspaces, it would be not these figures. Also, different light sources, different light layers, etc. Varying distances from the window of the user. Remember, this is psychological as well as physiological. Varying participant age, sex, chronotypes, larks and owls, etc. Varying participant light-related experiences outside of the working day, meaning do they get up and jump straight on the London Underground, or do they take a walk in morning light before the working day starts? Varying participant Zeitgeber experiences. So I'm now talking about non-photic, for example, what did they eat, when did they eat, what exercises, social interactions, etc. Light, albeit the most important, is not the only Zeitgeber. Differing practical tasks, by this I mean not having a standard task like a PVT test, but varying tasks that you normally get in a working day. Progress of the seasons. Is the day mostly sunny or mostly gloomy? The schedule. Is the person 100% office-based or hybrid, meaning that a few days a week they have different conditions from their home office? Even in both instances, what time is spent in the office compared to time on site? With all these variables, is it possible to demonstrate a real impact? And this is the question I took to Peter, who I now hand on to.